traditional Meteoric rebel outfits. They have maintained their balance in this entire crisis. The PLA, the UNLF, they have not gone overboard, even as some politicians or overground politicians have gone overboard and behaved ethnically. So the time is ripe now to start a peace effort, bringing in inter-community, platform, create an inter-community platform, give a lot of importance to gender. Women are peacemakers in Northeast. Bring women leaders. Bring Mary Kom. Bring, the great weightlifter, Kunjarani Devi. Inko samne laiye. Kick out these politicians who have created these problems. So, three things. Inter-community platform to resume a proper dialogue which can lead to solutions of outstanding problems. Number one. Number two, a crop alternative which augments the income of farmers. And number three, tribal autonomy has to be taken seriously.
Okay.
You look at Tripura, how the problem has been tackled there when the communist government, majority Bengali MLAs, they agreed to 6 scheduled tribal autonomous council, giving 70% of the land area to 30% community.
Okay.
So the tribal autonomy is the answer.
Okay.
It should not be taken lightly.
So you have spoken of threefold solution. Patricia, 30 seconds to you. The role of women, the role of women here.
Said, I have been saying this. We are a troubled region, but we do not have a single institution for peace building. We do not know how to go about it. Peace building requires a certain vocabulary, certain gestures, certain, you can't just go and try and build peace there if you do not know the right way, the right if you don't have the right attitude, and if you are not balanced enough. Because anyone who tries to build peace must refrain from seeing people, as victims and aggressors. I think it's very important, especially at this point, for the central government to send a fact-finding committee, because it's all, this group is saying this, the other group is saying that, and there is nothing that is balanced that's coming out of Manipur.
Okay. Suhas Chakma,
so we first need to get to the truth of the matter, address them. Subir had spoken about the drug trade. It's a 50,000 crore rupees trade annually. You have to address that as well, because that is also a trigger.
Okay, Suhas Chakma, 30 seconds to you, and then I wrap this debate.
Well, I think I would say that the central government should immediately intervene to ensure that the Meiteis could live in the areas where they were in the hills prior to the start of these riots, and as well as the Kukis, so that they could live in the valley where they were prior to the start of that conflict. If you can provide security and allow communities from both sides to come and live, then I think it creates necessary ambience for talks and etc. At the moment, what the government of Manipur has done is basically relocate about 50,000 people from the Kukis can only find safety in Kuki areas, Meiteis can find safety in the Meitei areas. So it's basically ethnic cleansing. You have cleansed the areas, and it's almost, as I said, partition of India. You cannot, after 75 years, create a situation where people live separately. I think the best way, if the state cannot provide that security in the heart of Imphal city, where the Kukis are, then it's very unfortunate. So,
Suhas Chakma, I've really come to the end of this discussion. Suhas Chakma, Patricia and Subir, really appreciate your time. That's all from me. We'll continue to put lens on this story repeatedly. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll be seeing you tomorrow.
Namaste, Jai Hind, and welcome to this edition of The Right Stand. It's a special, ladies and gentlemen. Modi at 9. We are on the cusp of the government under Prime Minister Narendra Modi completing 9 years under governance. What has been achieved? What has been the growth in stature of not just Prime Minister Narendra Modi, but also India in the last 9 years? Is there a story to tell there? What is the criticism of the opposition? Where is it that this government has been found wanting? And where is it that this government has grown by leaps and bounds and taken the India story further? We'll explore all that. But More importantly, we have to understand the 9 years of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. 2014, where a Chief Minister of Gujarat moves to become and slowly grows into the role as Prime Minister of Bharat, gets re-elected with an overwhelming mandate in 2019, and then slowly goes on to grow India's story, the India story. As we zoom in, let's try and stack this up one by one to see over the last 9 years, what have been the top 18, 20 achievements of Bharat under Prime Minister Narendra Modi's leadership? 2014, 2015, 2015, 2016, 2016, 2017, 2017, 2018, 2018, 2019. Let's try and understand this stack beautifully, ladies and gentlemen. Let's start with 2014 as we bring in the first year, 2014-2015. The first year, what he launched was the Jan Dhan Yojana and the Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao. The focus on women, 50% of our population, and also empowering women, empowering people with accounts, bank accounts. More than 40 crore bank accounts have been created. Let's move from 2014 to 2015 further. 2015-2016 was the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. You got accounts coming, but where are the homes? And also setting up this JAM portal. And more importantly, the vision of a digital India, creating a digital infrastructure which from 2015-2016 to 2023 has grown leaps and bounds that the world is taking note of. 2016-2017 came the surgical strikes, where perhaps redefining India's foreign policy, that we will go across, ghus ke marenge, that got proven. And demonetization, the big exercise, which broke the backbone of perhaps the core voter of the BJP at that time, but won the trust of the people because the government and the people believed that this man is incorruptible and he will punish the corrupt. Hoarding, black money, and of course counter-terror mechanism, the biggest answer. 2017-2018, the GST rollout happens. Saubhagya scheme has been launched, and both these becoming landmark. Record collections in GST showing that indirect taxes collection and accountability has gone up, and all this money going back to the revenue of the states, and also perhaps towards building the infrastructure and the growth story of Bharat. GST, can it be more robust? Can it be tailored? We still not come to one nation, one tax, but yes, it's been streamlined. Now, Ayushman Bharat came in 2018-2019, and Ayushman Bharat just came on the cusp of pandemic hitting us in 2020. But Ayushman Bharat was rolled out, and of course the Balakot strike happened just 3-4 months before India was going to polls, and then 2019 the overwhelming mandate. But this Balakot strike also underlined the policy that we will not take it lying down. Teen Talaq was outlawed, and big move was Article 370 being abrogated. Plenty of developments happened 2019, early 2019, and then 2020. Big rollout, moving out of the RCEP, that step was taken, and clearly saying let's streamline our laws. Empowering women. Women continue to be the story behind Prime Minister Narendra Modi's growth focus, and that vision drawn from the likes of Swami Vivekananda, Aurobindo, and Mahatma Gandhi. Ram Mandir Bhumi Pujan happens after that landmark judgment comes through. COVID-19 vaccine drive was launched in 2020-2021, and within 9 months of the pandemic, Bharat was making manufacturing vaccines, and the rollout of the vaccine program happened. 2021-22, the Gati Shakti launch, the infrastructure, pushing, aligning and streamlining of the entire ministries, 9 or 10 line ministries brought in together to push together and reduce red tape. Kashi Vishwanath corridor completed and inaugurated. So the Bhakti push also happened. And then 2022-2023 is the big step towards foreign policy and rising stature of India, the G20 presidency, and of course the Naya Sansad. 75 years into our Azadi, India finally gets the Sansad it needs, built by the people of Bharat, for the people of Bharat, and this is the Sansad of the people of Bharat, which will factor into the delimitation of 2026. But the growth as a statesman, the G20 leadership, and of course India wanting to assume the leadership of the Global South, these are all stories. An iron hand policy India having an iron hand policy when it comes to Pakistan. As the country grows to sponsor cross-border terror, India saying it won't engage in trade or talks with Pakistan and is building a global voice against terrorism. So in terms of foreign policy, dealing with the immediate neighbor and the pesky ones, China, Indian troops pushing back the PLA at the line of actual control, and India has banned over 300 Chinese apps. The Galwan clash telling China, we will punch you back, we will leave you with a bloody nose, and we will not pull our punches. Russia-Ukraine conflict. When it comes to the Russia-Ukraine conflict, India has maintained that it is not the era of war and has asked both nations to solve issue via talks. We continue to trade and engage with Russia while we continue to extend help, humanitarian help. So this multilateralism, but more importantly, putting India first. Neighborhood first policy, government reinforcing Act East, thinking West policy and connect Central Asia policy in order to strengthen ties, boosting multilateral ties in order to bolster the multilateral equations with partners, government crafting its vision with initiatives like Sagar, security and growth of all in the region, ISA, International Solar Alliance, CDRI, Coalition for Disaster Resilience. And of course, the year of G20 presidency with the theme of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. The world, future, family, all of us together. That India hosting G20 events, more than 100 meets have already taken place. 54 venues, 200 meetings. It's perhaps the biggest spread of G20 where Prime Minister told people, every district, every state, saying you take the ownership of this G20 leadership, not restricted to the corridors of power in Delhi. More Indian consulates, claims the government claiming in the last 9 years they've expanded their consulates, missions and representative offices across the globe. The latest one is the announcement of another consulate in Australia and Brisbane. The government has also signed multiple social security agreements to protect the interest of the Indian diaspora abroad and ensure their safety and security. No Indian left behind. Seen in Sudan, seen in Ukraine. Last 9 years, the government claims it has been the first responder in the time of crisis across the globe, with their help extended in Maldives and Mauritius, help extended to Turkey. Let's go straight across to the MOS in the MEA. Meenakshi Lekhi ji joining us. Meenakshi ji, Namaste, Jai Hind, and thank you for speaking with us here at CNN News 18. What's the biggest shift in India's foreign policy in the last 9 years? My first question to you, Meenakshi ji.
So I must say the biggest shift in India's foreign policy has been to keep India's interests primarily up and above everything else, and deal with people with confidence and take India's interests forward and engage across the globe.
What would you pin as India's biggest achievement?
From the position of strength.
Ji, but what would you pin as India's biggest achievement under PM Narendra Modi?
There have been so many achievements.
Ji.
It's very difficult to point out one. But I must say the recognition, the stature which India enjoys across the globe, the confidence with which the position of strength India talks and delivers. So we've not only made promises, but delivery of those promises has brought forward the shift and change, and also the cultural perspective that India is not just a nation state in the Westphalian model, but India is a civilizational state also.
Yes.
So we are a continuous civilization which have kept up its promise with dignity, pride, and civilizational value system. And those civilizational value systems, which were probably neglected for a long period of time, that with Prime Minister Modi coming into the chair of the Prime Minister, that emphasis has changed, that India will progress, India will make its infrastructure, India will develop digitally, India will finish corruption, India will have the best architecturally sound buildings, we'll have the fastest trains, and we will roll 5G in the shortest possible time.
Yeah.
We will make highways, we'll do all that. But keeping in the context of keeping the value system of India's civilizational ethos and values intact and taking them along while we progress and get ahead in life.
So not leaving our value system or values behind and taking that value system to the globe. But one of the aspects currently, if I may ask you, Meenakshi ji, is the concern of foreign soil, especially friendlies. It's being used for secessionist activity. That remains a concern.
So whenever unpleasant things have happened, even in the countries which are India's friends and partners in many forums, India has spoken about it. And as Prime Minister in his own words says, na aankh jhuka ke baat karo, na aankh utha ke, aankh se aankh mila ke baat karo. So you neither look upon someone and not look down, but you sit across the table and look straight into each other's eyes and have a discussion. That's the change, that's the shift you see. And we have delivered, whether it was COVID pandemic, COVID-19, that during pandemic, 160 plus countries which got benefited by India's vaccination. When we were in difficulty, we got support from them, whether it was hydroxychloroquine and so on and so forth. India was there to help everyone, whether it's taking its own people out of other countries. We've worked on that. We've negotiated with all other countries who may be warring with each other, but India stood in its own place and spoke to all of them to take the message forward of peace, harmony, and yet extricate its own people from the way of harm. So. Whether it is Afghanistan, it was Yemen, latest being Sudan, Syria, so on and so forth. So there have been ample Operation Ganga, ample opportunities to prove India's point that India stands by its own citizens and will deliver where they seek any help.
One of the aspects is of Bharat's foreign policy, if I may say, Meenakshi ji, is to try and represent those nations who don't have a voice of their own and to try and be their voice. So Bharat representing the global south. Is there agreement largely, if I may ask you, can India actually achieve this despite the geopolitics, both sides of the axis?
No, whatever be the geopolitics, you will be happy to learn that the latest experimentation which took place and the very first South-South summit that happened and Prime Minister led it from the front. The idea behind this was that while India is chairing the G20 presidency, and G20 countries are the countries which close to 85% of the global GDP is controlled by these countries. They represent 65% of the world's population or trade, 65% of the trade. So it's a very powerful economic group. And India, by virtue of being in top 5 economies of the world, becomes part of this G20 group. And imagine the days when we were fragile 5, from fragile 5 to reach up to the position of top 5 has been a Bhagirathi Prayas on part of the government and specifically Prime Minister Modi. But we are also a very large population. We are a country of the East, not only in terms of the geographical location, but also in terms of the civilizational value system. We are a country of the West because all the modern structures of governance which came into Europe and rest of the region post-Renaissance period exist in this country, whether it's democracy, it's rule of law, it's independent judiciary, administration, transparency. These are things which represent the Western value system. So we are a country of the East and we are as much a country of the West. We are a country of the North by virtue of being part of G20, but we are also a country of the South. Country of the South, the southern part was basically a different name for countries which were underdeveloped, which had very large poor population, which did not have the infrastructure education, science, technology. But we have a very large population, and we represent more than 1.3 billion people.
Yeah.
And we have a huge challenge of dealing with poverty, sanitation, food for all. We are working very hard, and we have worked very hard in past 9 years. And thus we represent the aspirations of the South absolutely correctly. So this is a pole position which India enjoys, that representing the countries who are going to be impacted by the policies of the more developed countries, that is the G20. And who could represent that better than India? Because we represent the 5th largest economy of the world, but we also represent the largest population of the world who have to be fed, clothed, and taken care of. So India is clearly a bridge between East, West, North, South. And the policies have an impact on the most vulnerable. And we represent those vulnerable sections, whether it's WTO or at other or WHO. At every policy level, India is rightly placed to act the voice and be the voice of the voiceless, and that's the action which we've taken upon ourselves to perform.
You've articulated that brilliantly, but let me ask you, no Indian left behind. Has the Modi Sarkar been able to live up to this promise?
Absolutely, Modi Sarkar has been able to live up to its promise and reaching out to the unreached. Imagine in a war situation where no country, even the more so-called more developed countries, they had left their people. India took it upon itself to reach out to all those and extricate all of them from the harm's way. And latest being post-Ukraine, it was Sudan, and which we have lifted so many people out. So India gives the confidence to its citizenry that no matter what happens, Government of India stands by you. Wherever you are, we are there to reach out to you.
Well, final question, Meenakshi ji, I know you're pressed for time. Have we as a nation, and has the government as India and as Prime Minister done enough to resolve the Russia-Ukraine conflict?
Listen, we two, it's like two nations, two sovereign nations. As a third sovereign nations, who are we to intervene unless we are asked? We've made statements that this is not a time of Yudh, this is a time of Budh. We have helped Ukraine. We sent several tons of humanitarian relief material to them. But those who are directly involved and related, they have to take a call on what we cannot intervene in others' affairs. It's like there is a dispute, people have their own things to do, and those who are involved, it's for them to do, it's for them to take a call.
But there have been calls that India should...
We pray for peace and harmony for everyone.
We do so too, but there have been requests repeatedly that India can solve this. But Meenakshi ji, thank you very much for your time. You've put matters in perspective. Some questions remain. We'll deliberate that with our guests going forward. And we are also hoping that Shri T.S. Singh Deo, the Health Minister of Chhattisgarh, does join us. And then, because I bumped into him in Sydney, and he had a few points to make in terms of 9 years of Modi. So I'm hoping that he does join us and then he speaks with us. But first, let's go across to Smita Prakash, editor ANI, Neerja Chaudhary, senior journalist, Vijay Sardana, agricultural economist, and also Mohan Das Pai, chairman RN Capital. Namaste and Jai Hind to everybody. Thank you for your patience. I thought you should also hear what Meenakshi Lekhi ji had to say. But let me ask you, Mohan Das Pai ji, let's start with foreign policy because we spoke with Meenakshi ji. Has India done enough? And do you see the stature of India going up in the last 9 years? Or is it purely just around Prime Minister Narendra Modi?
No, I think India has done a lot in the last 9 years. India has re-established contacts with almost all countries. India has now globally more respected than it was 10 years ago. India has demonstrated strong leadership on most global issues. If you look at the Middle East has, become our friends greatly compared to what they were 9 years ago. They've given Prime Minister Modi the top awards, promised large investments which are coming in. If you look at the US, we are part of the Quad, and the US looks at us strategically. Prime Minister Modi is going there. Now, Europe looks at us very differently, even though they try to preach once in a while. I'm happy to see our Foreign Minister Jaishankar give it back. Japan and India have deep relationships, so also Southeast Asia. The African continent has become closer to us, and because of a large amount of work that we have done. And China, of course, sees us as a competitor, and we have stood up to China's hegemony at the border level. China knows they cannot cross the border. We are not going to be pushed over by anybody. And as far as Pakistan is concerned, we have told them, you will not enter our territory. The army has told very clearly, give it back. And Pakistan is being held at bay. I think if you look at everything that has happened, the Indian passport has greater respect all around the world than compared to earlier. The world sees us as a stronger player. And of course, we are facing the onslaught of the global left. The global left, the global malcontents, many people in Lutyens, India are all working together to create fake narratives and to hurt us, bring down our esteem. But globally, Prime Minister Modi is very popular. And of course, much of the credit to go to Prime Minister Modi. He's provided strong leadership. Whether you like it or not, the leader of a country counts. And the leader of the country who takes decisive action. For example, in COP21, Prime Minister Modi took the decision not to be obstruct COP21, but to participate. He's created the International Solar Alliance. And in most issues globally, India has taken the lead. From being a follower, being an obstructionist who always tries to obstruct, India has taken the lead and to commit first to prove to the world that we are a very, very trusted country. And the fact that we are the 5th largest economy now, soon going to be possibly the 3rd largest economy, I think is a testimony to India's strength. Right. And also, last point, the Indian people, the diaspora who have gone to other countries, they had some of the largest corporations in the world that demonstrate the power of India, the intellectual capability of India. And in almost all Western countries, we have a large diaspora which is doing extremely well. In almost all countries, having the highest per capita income. So I think India is very different now.
But have they achieved all of that because of India, or in spite of India, or despite India? That is the point where a lot of people will have different points of view. They have
achieved what they achieved on their own violation. All right.
Yeah.
It's not that India has done any favor to them as anything has happened here. But the fact remains that if you come from a country far away, and because of your achievements and also the country's achievement, the country's image goes up, it weighs up on you. I remember going to the US 15 years ago. Almost all Indians used to criticize India, look down upon us as their poor cousins come there, smirk at us, and look now. Now they all look up to us as people who have created this country and give us greater respect.
Right.
So I think it's a two-way street, right? India does well, it shines on them.
Must admit, Mohandas Paiji, that I was in Sydney, and this is what people had spent 15, 18, 20 years in Sydney said, कि अब मोदी जी के बाद थोड़ा भाव बढ़ गया है. So first we should just put our head down and do our work, but now we can sit up and we are treated or feel ourselves as equals here. Now that's what some of the sentiment was. But Smita Prakash, let me ask you, you and your team have a ringside view because your team follows the Prime Minister. Have things really changed the world over between 2014 to 2023?
Well, I think, Anand, with a lot of humility, I say that we have followed every Prime Minister since 1947, this Prime Minister included. But when every Prime Minister has his own style. And when Modi came to power in 2014, there were many who thought that here is a novice. He's never been a member of parliament, so he doesn't really know much about foreign policy. He will be guided, if nothing else. And there was this view that he's a regional leader. He doesn't have a world view that Dr. Manmohan Singh had, or Rajiv Gandhi had, or anybody else. So there was this view that many people had. But it didn't take long for Mr. Modi to learn. Firstly, because he had a lot of external interaction even as Chief Minister of Gujarat. And then he had a very strong external affairs minister in Sushma Swaraj, and then a very hands-on external affairs minister in S. Jaishankar. Now, it's the vision that the foreign policy has is completely BJP's Modi's vision. It's nation first, and right from the day he took charge in 2014, it's been that. There have been many slogans and many policy shifts, minor policy shifts. It was neighborhood first, look east became act east. Those kind of acronyms are there. And then, as I don't want to repeat the many achievements which Mr. Mohandas Pai had already said, so there's no point me saying that, but it's quite clear that, you know, that muscular foreign policy which is praised by world leaders, Anand, it also makes many people uncomfortable. Many countries might overtly, outwardly praise it, that here India is now on the high table, but it also makes them mighty uncomfortable because, you know, status quo does bother many countries. While they say that, okay, we would like India to play a larger role, but whether it is the US, whether it is our neighbors, whether it is China, whether it is any country in the world, they like India, they like the idea that India is coming up there, but it also makes them mighty uncomfortable that we are on the high table now. You cannot have a world grouping today and for it to make any consequential move if India is not part of that world body. So you're seeing us being at the high table now. So there's this quotation, I can't exactly recollect, that you are at the table or you're part of the table, which means that you're part of the menu. They'll eat you up.
Right.
So we are there now at the high table. We are, and to a large extent, I think, which you and Mr. Pai pointed out, is that we have decided not to be a shrinking violet in the room. We are going to be there. We are not embarrassed. I think Meenakshi Lekhi was very articulate in what she said, that we're not shying away from what our past has been. We are a developing nation. We haven't really reached out there as far as our economy is concerned, but we are making giant strides towards it.
But Neerja ji, bhav badh gaya, everybody feels it, but it is not reflecting in the actual bhav of the Indian passport. So when I say the weight and the stature of the Indian passport, so that's what the numbers are saying. So where do you stand? You've been tracking multiple leaders. 9 years of PM Modi you've tracked. Oftentimes you have critiqued, oftentimes you have praised. So let me ask you.
Are you asking me?
Yes, Neerja ji.
Okay. You know, I think if you look at 9 years of Narendra Modi, at the end of 9 years, the Prime Minister's popularity is where it was 9 years ago. If you go by the recent CSDS survey, the popularity of the BJP has grown by 2%, again by the same survey, which is considered a credible survey. Of course, the Congress's popularity is increased by 10%, which is a cause for worry. For the BJP, they'll have to take note, and they're normally very quick to take note. Normally, anti-incumbency does set in, so that the Prime Minister should hold his own for 9 long years, say something about how people are viewing him. Now, what happens in 24 remains to be seen, because it's a rapidly changing situation also. I would say the interesting thing about Narendra Modi, the soon after he took over, his first speech in 14, he mentioned the word poor. And I think that word entered the BJP's lexicon for the first time. The focus on the poor, the backward, the marginalized, it became a very different party from the Brahmin Baniya party that the BJP was known for. And then the subsequent, Jan Dhan accounts, the social welfare schemes, they were a very important component. Everybody, a lot of people got something solid in hand. That much money coming into my account, 500 rupees mere haath mein, women in UP would say. So, namak khaya hai to vote dena hai. So, I think apart from the fact Hindutva, nationalism, strong leader, national pride, of course, OBC and the marginalized section, and then the social welfare program, and I would say tapping into an aspirational India, the young India, was a very important component which Narendra Modi was able to do. Now, of course, the COVID vaccination, and I agree with, what Smita was saying. We used to discuss this. How will Narendra Modi, coming from Gujarat as a CM only, with very little exposure to national politics, actually be able to function on the world stage? And I think he's held his own. And today, after the Ukraine war, to be able to have Quad and the Western nations woo you, be able to buy oil from Russia, and so do this tightrope walk very skillfully, though of course we've had problems with China's intrusion into our territory and so on. So, but he's held his own. I would say, if I may say, very quick 2 points of the flip side of the story. The flip side of the story, which I find, where more work needs to be done, is today the minorities feel insecure, beleaguered, helpless. And that, when the number is so huge, it is not good for the country. That's the social harmony. Something needs to be done, even though the rhetoric is there. Secondly, there is, dissent, the respect. What happened yesterday with the wrestlers, who are saying for so long, Anand, that sexual harassment they had been subjected to. I would have thought that a government like headed by Narendra Modi, is emphasized on women, it could have been handled very differently as was done yesterday when they were taken to jail. Number 3, the bitterness that's crept in between the ruling side and the opposition is a cause for worry. It was not. I wish the opposition had attended yesterday's Parliament inaugural, because Parliament belongs to both the opposition and the ruling side. Right. But be that as it may, I think some new initiatives need to come on all these 3 fronts.
Points well made, Nitya ji. We'll elaborate on them after I get to understand what Vijay Sardana ji feels. We started with foreign policy, so external, India's outlook to the world, PM Modi's foreign policy, and also him negotiating a lot of tightropes. Even economically, as an agricultural economist, he's also taken the International Year of Millets to the world. He's taken that story forward, even in terms of climate change, even in terms of crop rotation, use of renewables towards agriculture. There are a lot of conversations that are happening with the world. So let me ask you your perspective, Vijay ji.
First of all, good evening to you all the panelists and the viewers. See, no doubt last 9 years were very eventful. And as all my fellow panelists have highlighted, different dimensions starting from Meenakshi Lekhi ji, then other panelists, on the various dimensions of foreign policy, economy, and whole lot of activities. See, when it comes to economic activity, definitely there is an improvement. But there was a COVID and there was a setback. But important development which you have to keep in mind and which is really long-term benefit for the country is digitization of economy. And this has brought a lot of, I will say, the transparency and the speed into the decision-making process. Jan-Dhan account is one aspect, but whole lot of digital payment, the whole banking system is today digital. You can do banking from anywhere. Whole lot of benefits are there because of technology interventions. When it comes to other aspects on manufacturing, for example, Make in India, it was a success, but again, I'm also parallelly highlighting the caution. Many small and medium enterprises, those who should get the proper support from the government to take forward the Make in India, it is not as it was expected. Because many companies started. Mr. Modi was very good in cleaning the corruption at the top level, but still on the ground level, the way corruption is harassing MSME and common man on various levels, that still has to be addressed.
Right.
Somewhere, I think the next, if Mr. Modi gets a chance, he should focus on grassroots level corruption. Top level he has addressed. It's a serious problem, whether we like it or not. Many MSMEs started manufacturing in India, but because of harassment and corruption, they have stopped it, and again they depend on Chinese imports, which is sad, but that's a reality. As far as other issues are concerned, for example, in agriculture, agriculture definitely is a state subject. Mr. Modi took a very bold decision to reform agriculture trading system, which was very much required and is required. All the 3 laws were very sensible. Till date, not a single political party or a farmer leader able to tell us which line was anti-farmer. They all made slogans, but nobody came out with any facts. Unfortunately, agriculture is a state subject, so we cannot blame Mr. Modi for this, but he could have requested the BJP states to give the a lead in the reforms. Show them how agriculture can be reformed and farmer can be made better so that other non-BJP states could have forced to taken such sensible decisions. But that is one area, whether it's a local politics or it is a political compulsion, we don't know. But that area needs a lot of reform. Another area from the common man's perspective, which looks very small, but which is a big life-threatening impact on people is quality of basic items in India. For example, food adulteration, spurious medicines, spurious pesticides, spurious seeds. There is no check on it.
Right.
Farmers suffer because of spurious products. Consumers suffer because of spurious and defective and adulterated food and medicine. Who is going to control it? And these are actually, all these spurious products happens because of corruption. You have all the inspectors, but doing nothing to protect the citizens. Just they are doing rent seeking and monthly collection going on. So my way of looking at it is that a lot of macro things have happened in the country. Foreign policy, great thing. On defense, great thing. On international relation, great thing. Technology transfer, great thing. Financial reforms and financial technologies, great thing. But still, micro thing which affects the common man's life. Government of India can transfer funds to Jandan account. You can give subsidies and everything. But common man's life also depends on the quality of food, quality of medicine, quality of pesticides, quality of seeds, quality of education, quality of local transport. All those things, still there's a long way to go. So I will say 9 years, I will say that Mr. Modi has placed the foundation in place. Now it is high time he should see that common men take the benefit, especially small and medium scale enterprises, so that there is a growth of employment generation. We should not depend on China. After starting Make in India, why still trade with China is going up? That should be investigated. Which laws, which clause are hurting Indian industry? There must be a focused day-to-day analysis of reforms. It cannot be left to the industry bodies.
This is
someone else.
Vijay Sardana ji,
That
what you're saying, I think echoes with a lot of people who believe that there needs to be immediate addressing of the corruption at the grassroots level, and huge amount of transparency needs to be brought at the grassroots level. Everybody will nod and agree. It's a reality. I'm just taking a pause from the panel to bring in T.S. Singh Devji, the Health Minister of Chhattisgarh. He's away in far-off lands. T.S. Singh Devji, namaste. It's way past midnight in New Zealand. Correct me if I'm wrong, you are there taking the story of Chhattisgarh. But I'm going to ask you about Prime Minister Narendra Modi in the last 9 years. How would you opine? How has he and his government fared? We had a short conversation in Sydney when I bumped into you, Raj, near the Opera House. And with that promise, I'm just coming back to you and asking you to opine on the same. Thank you, sir. Please go ahead.
It would be a 5 or 6 out of 10. No government does nothing. There are so many funds that are available, the funds of the country, the infrastructure, development responsibilities of the country, the taxes of the country. They are all available to the government at the center also. So obviously any government which comes in place will work. There is no question of not being able to do anything, but we have got some, we have lost some. This has been a story of the last 9 years where institutions have come under question. We have seen thrust in infrastructure. We have seen increasing inflation. We have seen increasing unemployment. We have seen some efforts to ramp up social infrastructure or infrastructure with the poorer sections of society, whether it is housing or attempts at sanitation. So it's been an up and down thing. It's been plus some, minus some.
But T.S. Singh Devji, with respect to foreign policy, has this government done significantly?
It has made an impact for sure. I mean, currently I was in Australia. Today I'm in New Zealand. So the name Modi seems to have gained some resonance. I will not deny that. What the people abroad see in him is not a person who's delivering, a person who is a very good speaker, somebody who gets across strongly. So their evaluation is more on the impact that an individual makes on the stage in front of people. I was in Australia. We met, I think. And one of the things that people were telling me was there were so many people who came to meet him. So the impact was 20,000 people came to the stadium. So in Australia, which has the population of Chhattisgarh, less than the population of Chhattisgarh, 20,000 people coming together is a big event. So that is the sort of impact Mr. Modi has been able to make abroad. He has these coming together of people of Indian origin or people of Indian citizenship who are working abroad. Whenever he goes there, he is able to manage, let us say, an event and get a message across that he is a leader trying to do something. There, he does succeed. Other things I will not be able to say too much about. It is in fact enough, I suppose, that he's made some impact by his
You've
presence.
scored him 5 on 10. Where are you taking the other 5 points away?
So we see China as a developing country too. But am I on board with the system of governance? I am not. So that is where he is failing. He is coming through a process of elected democracy. It is not as if he is a dictator. He gets elected. His party persons get elected to parliament and other assemblies too. But what we are seeing is an eroding of an more evenly placed. We've heard about the CBI being a parrot, Supreme Court commenting in early regimes too. But at the present moment, it seems that the sense of being able to accept either criticism or opposition, that has gone down. So that democratic context, I see, has eroded to some extent. So I would cut at least 2.5 marks there. Then unemployment is a major thing. When Mr. Modi, who is a good orator, powerful orator, he says, I'll create 2 crore jobs in a year. It hasn't come about. There's a sense of frustration which is get buoyed by propaganda. You get across a message to the people that we are inclusive and we are aspirational supporters of the youth. Their aspirations we support. So this is a message which gets across, which keeps the people on board. But is the delivery there? I don't see it. What are we advertising? We are talking of 2 crore jobs. And it's a big fanfare announcement that 80,000 jobs have been given. See, that is where propaganda is taking the place of delivery to the country. Politics apart, as a citizen of India, I would have felt that 20 lakh jobs should have been delivered. Not okay. We are not delivering 20 crore jobs.
2 crore,
The Prime
2 crore,
Minister is announcing jobs for the youngsters. 80,000 jobs is not something which should be coming on the media as an achievement. So they're misleading the people to that extent. That is not good democracy. That is not good politics. So there I would cut at least another 1.5 marks. I'm cutting too many marks. So there is little left.
No, but T.S. Singhdev, let me ask you this. What would you say is the one big miss by the Modi Sarkar in the last 9 years?
See, we have the largest demography in youth. So not providing employment would be his biggest failure.
Yeah, candid and clear as ever. Thank you so much for speaking with us, T.S. Singhdev. I'm going to quickly get a response from Mohandas Pai before we take a break. Yes, Mohandas Pai ji.
Anand, you must ask the minister, what has he done in his Chhattisgarh state? Because he's most qualified to speak about the state since he's the minister. Now, let me talk about inflation. Last 9 years, we have seen on average lower inflation than UPA 1 and 2. The data is there. People keep, making fake narratives. Inflation is very high, because, they don't give any data. You must see the data. The data in the last 9 years of Modi is the inflation is lower on average than before that. The data is there. In the UPA 2, there are double-digit inflation for 5 years. And 2, as far as employment is concerned, it's not 80,000 jobs. It is 10 lakh jobs, 71 or 72,000 jobs every month for the last 4 months in government. Now, government cannot create jobs. If the minister thinks that government is to create jobs, then he must have a look at himself. Government does not create jobs. You come to South India, Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, and maybe Maharashtra and Gujarat, there are more jobs than people. There are no jobs in Chhattisgarh. There are no jobs possible in Chhattisgarh. You must answer. There are no jobs in West Bengal. Rajasthan has got enough. UP is now improving. Still, jobs are not there. Bihar, there are no jobs. They're all coming down south. If you look at the EPFO data, about 1.2 crore, 1.3 crore new people are joining every year for the last 3 years. Out of which 55% the age group of 18 to 25. But most of the jobs pay less than 25,000 rupees. So everybody wants a government job because in the government, you get a job, then there's the accountability is very low and the other avenues are making money. And the attraction for government jobs is more in the north because in the south, people who are educated don't want government jobs. They try to create private sector jobs because they feel the opportunities are very good. So I think, these people should talk with the data and facts. In this country, a lot of fake narratives happen because they don't look at data.
Okay.
I think it's very important on both these issues because the data is there. They don't want to look at it. And if you look at the tax collections, please remember, 21-22 taxes went up by 5 lakh crores compared to budget. And 22-23 taxes went up by 3 lakh crores higher than the budget. And last month, in the month of March, the taxes that were paid in April, we got nearly 1,90,000 crores in GST, an all-time record. If there's no growth, there is no employment, taxes won't come to you, right? Now, these are all happening in a very big way. But India is a very big country, and in a big country, you see small things and blow it up to make it good. So I think the things that Narendra Modi has not done are very different from what the minister says. If you want, I can explain to you after the break.
Where we'll do that after the break. I've got to take a short break. Smita Prakash, Neerja Chaudhary and Vijay Sardana, quick comments from you too when we come back. Right now, taking a very short pause in this conversation on Modi at 9. Stay with us.
On behalf of certain communities are coming in and then they are trying to create disturbance in the state, due to which the reports of violence are coming in every day from the violence state of Manipur.
Preeti, how many civilian casualties have been reported so far?
So far, as per official reports, there are over 70 people who have lost their lives, and also it was stated yesterday that 33 militants have been killed in retaliation by the armed forces in Manipur.
So, what led to this violence in the state? What was the cause of these groups clashing with each other?
Actually, the main, whatever we can see on the surface is about the reservation, about the ST status being claimed by the Meteoric in the state, on which the cookies earlier, actually, how it started was the cookies started protesting against the ST status to be given to the Meteoric for certain reasons that both the communities cited. But later on, a lot of forces, outward forces came in. And then the violence also spread into the state, around the state. It started in particularly when the first incident of violence started, it was in Surachandpur and the areas adjacent to it, where the Kukis and the Meiteis are inhabiting. But the point is that later on, quite a few outward forces started acting on it, and the violence spread like anything. And it's been like 1 month now that the internet is suspended in the state of Manipur. It will be extended until 31st May. But we can see a lot of Manipuri people actually being very much active on internet. So how they are acting, are there forces outside the state who are trying to spread a propaganda for our communities or for both the communities, are still have to be made out. But we can see that this is until 31st of May, internet is banned in the state. It's been almost a month there of internet ban in the state, of these kind of violence coming in from the state. So many thousands of people have lost their lives.
Right.
Over 70 people have lost their lives.
All right, Preeti, thank you for giving us all those details. We'll keep tracking this story for more updates. As the tensions continue in the northeastern state of Manipur, Chief Minister N. Biren Singh has appealed to the people to maintain calm in the state. Chief Minister further added that over 40 armed Kukis have been gunned down by the security forces in the state. Meanwhile, the army and Assam Rifles are deployed in sensitive areas, and the internet services will be remaining shut till May 31st.
just mass combing operations along with the helicopter surveillance has started, and we are trying to find out the culprits, those militants who are attacking the civilians.
Our Honorable Home Minister, Mr. Amit Jhaji, is coming to Manipur for the 3 days. So we request and appeal to him to take the necessary steps and action as early as possible in his journey, because this is not a time to negotiate and this is not a time to talk about the peace, because if this action is not taken to the earliest, the Manipur will vanish.
CNN News 18's Preeti is joining us on this story. Preeti, can you tell us what is the current situation in the state of Manipur?
There are fresh reports of violence coming in every day from the state of Manipur, the violence hit state of Manipur. And even yesterday also we could see that MLA K. Raghumani's house was attacked by an unruly mob, where one person was also injured by a bullet. So you see, every day there are also this kind of incidents. This was the fourth instance that came in 1 week of attacks happening on political leaders. So today the Union Home Minister Amit Shah also had to visit Manipur. They are expecting him today, but because the situations there in Manipur are still not much in favor of any kind of a political leader being there, because you see in the last 1 week itself, 4 attacks have happened on political leaders. And yesterday, one person was also injured. And along with that, we can see that yesterday Chief Minister Biren Singh made a huge revelation where he stated that there are militants who are working with arms, and almost 33 militants have been killed in retaliation by the armed forces. He has stated that the state is very much concerned about the peace and security of the state, but yes, some militants who are working on behalf of certain communities are coming in, and then they are trying to create disturbance in the state, due to which the reports of violence are coming in every day from the violence state of Manipur.
Preeti, how many civilian casualties have been reported so far?
So far, as per official reports, there are over 70 people who have lost their lives, and also it was stated yesterday that 33 militants have been killed in retaliation by the armed forces in Manipur.
So what led to this violence in the state? What was the cause of these groups clashing with each other?
Actually, the main, whatever we can see on the surface is about the reservation, about the ST status being claimed by the Meteoric in the state, on which the Cookies earlier, actually, how it started was the Cookies started protesting against the ST status to be given to the Meteoric for certain reasons that made the community fight.
Back live on this Monday special edition. Modi at 9 years of Modi Sarkar. Let's go back to our panelists straight up and ask them the final question, and it's around them. Smita Prakash, Neerja Chaudhary, Mohandas Pai and Vijay Sardana. Straightforward question to all of you, because each can take a minute and a half and be democratic about it. Smita Prakash, the one area or where you dock points for Prime Minister Narendra Modi on a scale of 10. T.S. Singh Deo has rated him 5 on 10. How much would you rate him, and why would you dock points from him?
No, I never rate anybody. I hate ratings. I would hate any ratings even for myself. But just to come to the point which was being made before you went into the break about job creation, I think that remains an acute challenge. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, we need to create about 12 million jobs or something like that every year because of the workforce that's entering the market. But besides that, I think one point which about the BJP, if I may talk under Modi, I think Neerja made this point about Brahmin Baniya party, and that used to be the kind of people or the image that the party had because of people who used to populate that party and the people who used to vote for the party. But that kind of changed after 2014 because Antyodaya, which was just a goal and it was just part of their manifesto, that really shaped the policies from 2014 onwards. I mean, it's not for no reason that 271 million, if I'm not mistaken, are the number of Indians who've been lifted out of poverty in a decade.
Yeah.
Now, when Mr. Modi took over, he made that the agenda, that Antyodaya, the last man or the last woman standing on the line. And he made it a point, whether it was Swachh Bharat, whether it was Ujjwala, whether it was Jan Dhan, any of those, 10 crore toilets built. So you're talking about toilets built for whom? The people who are standing last in the line. There are about 3 crores or something like that of the number of houses built. People like us who live in privileged backgrounds don't understand what all this means. For somebody who doesn't even own a pair of shoes to enter a bank with an account and money put into that account. So the country's resources being used for the have-nots, that is so important. A gas connection, a bank account, these are things which make so much of a difference, and that Jan Dhan has enabled all that. So some things which the BJP has not been able to do, which I understand, which Nija also says it. One is that that the slogan "Sabka Saath" is not something that the Muslim population believes Mr. Modi has delivered on. And the second thing is what Mr. Modi's own constituency doesn't believe is that Congress Mukt Bharat is what he has been able to achieve. Because it is emerging as the largest opposition party
so
now.
Three minutes now, Nija Chaudhary.
A quick thing, which I didn't say earlier, two of the things that Mr. Modi has used very effectively. One is the Indian diaspora outside to give a signal of confidence, a confident India to the world capitals.
Right.
He's used this very effectively everywhere. Secondly, he's brought, what Congress party says, he's co-opted our leaders. Whether it's Sardar Patel or Subhash Bose, but he's certainly given leaders who should have got their due much earlier.
Right.
That is another, and not only that, local icons have been given importance. So those are two things that I think are very, very need to be appreciated. I would also say, if I had to give suggestions, I would say unemployment, concentrate with renewed vigor on the micro sector and agriculture so that more employment can be created, more demand can be generated in the economy. And number two, I would again renew and say the minorities' confidence has to be
So underline Sabka Saath and change that change.
Anand, I'd like to just end again with a plea, if I may make. This restless thing, the way it's gone on, it's very painful. I hope something will be done in the coming hours so that we all feel as women.
See, ma'am, I don't want to digress, but you've made your point, but there are two sides to that coin itself. So I'll set that aside. Vijay Sardana, yes.
See, there are, if you say about the scoring, there are many subjects where Modi has definitely scored distinctions. I'll not go into it because we all know it, as mentioned in earlier session. The area where I feel that Mr. Modi should focus so that his overall ranking goes up and country benefits. One is the quality of services like education. Because today, one of the reasons for unemployment is that the manpower which is coming out of institutions are not up to the mark which can be hired.
Right.
So unless you focus on, as Mr. Mohandas Pai was mentioning, in South India, all jobs are going to technical side. In Delhi or in North India, we talk about MSME, semi-skilled, unskilled type of jobs. And fact of the matter is there is an acute shortage of competent manpower in India.
So skilling grassroots corruption, two aspects which you highlighted, Vijayji.
I'm just coming to that. Just give me a minute.
I don't have a minute. That's why I have to interrupt you, Vijayji. Please bear with me. I have to give the final 30 seconds to Mohandas Pai. So I'm just taking these two aspects.
Give me 10 seconds.
Okay, 10 seconds. 10 seconds. Okay, sir.
Okay. Policy reforms so that MSME get a market access even in government tenders. Still archaic laws are keeping them out. And they are feeling
so policy reforms for MSMEs.
Reform in BJP states.
Sir, sorry.
MSME reforms are required to show that
I'm running out of time. Mohandas Pai, grassroots corruption, education, policy reforms.
Anand, tax terrorism is very rampant.
Tax terrorism.
and then police reforms have not been done. The
Tax terrorism, police reforms.
Yes,
5 points, sir. I have run out of time. We will take this forward tomorrow with the promise that we'll take this forward tomorrow. I have to wind up this edition of The Right Stand with a big thank you to all our panelists. Brass Tacks with Zaka right now. Good evening, this is Brass Tacks. I'm Zaka Jacob. It is a murder most foul. It will make your blood curdle. A young girl, all of 16 years old, was killed brutally by a man that she was allegedly in love with. She was stabbed more than 30 times, and if that did not satisfy this barbarian's bloodlust, he also hit her on the head with a rock, breaking her skull. While the accused Sahil has been nabbed, and that too within 24 hours, there were at least 10 passers-by who were simply walking by as this brutal crime was unfolding in front of their eyes, and they did nothing to stop it. But first, the story.
Stabbed 40 times. Kicked and bludgeoned with a rock. This horror from the national capital has sent shockwaves across the nation. A 16-year-old girl murdered in public by her alleged boyfriend in North Delhi's Rohini area. The whole murder was caught on CCTV, but the most shocking detail is the multiple bystanders who simply walked past this atrocity.
ये वही स्पॉट है, इसी जगह पर लड़की को गिराकर उसके ऊपर चाकू से हमला किया गया था। उसके बाद उसके बाल खींचे गए थे। जब वो पूरी तरह से अधमरी हो गई थी तो उसके बाद आरोपी युवक इस तरफ को भागा और उसके बाद फिर वापस आकर उसने इसी जगह पर यहाँ पर जो बड़ा पत्थर उसके हाथ में था उससे कई बार वार किए थे। और जिस वक्त ये पूरा घटनाक्रम हुआ था उस वक्त यहाँ पर कई लोग घूम रहे थे।
The Delhi police launched a manhunt for the accused Sahil. 20 hours after the murder, he was nabbed in Bulandshahr in Uttar Pradesh.
Gruesome attack, multiple stab, and also using a stone to smash the face and the head. So we have arrested the accused, let the accused come. We will collect the best possible evidence such that the strictest possible punishment is given to the accused.
The distraught family says they were unaware of any relationship between the victim and the accused. They have demanded the death penalty, saying only that will deliver true justice.
मुझे इंसाफ चाहिए सर, फांसी चाहिए उसको। अगर जेल में बंद होगा तो फिर छूट जाएगा। आज मेरे साथ किया, कल दूसरे साथ फिर करेगा वो। इस नाते उसको जो है सजा दो।
But a political fight has ensued over this gruesome murder. The Aam Aadmi Party has taken a direct shot at the LG, accusing him of the breakdown of law and order.
जो आप 24 घंटे लगाते हैं अरविंद केजरीवाल जी के काम को रोकने में, आप उसमें से आधा समय तो दिल्ली की महिलाओं को सुरक्षा देने में लगाइए। अगर आप दिल्ली की महिलाओं को सुरक्षा नहीं दे सकते, तो आप एक संवैधानिक पद पे बैठे क्यों हुए हैं?
मैं पूछना चाहता हूं एलजी साहब से, 1 साल हुए उनको आए हुए दिल्ली में, और 1 साल के अंदर दिल्ली की कानून व्यवस्था का सत्यानाश कर दिया, बेड़ा गर्क कर दिया।
The BJP, on the other hand, has promised swift action against the accused.
करें क्या, बहुत तकलीफ में है सब लोग। पुलिस को बोला कि एकदम लोगों में मैसेज जाना चाहिए कि अगर कोई क्राइम करता है तो उसको सज़ा ज़रूरी है, बहुत ज़रूरी है, सख्ती से होना चाहिए।
BJP MP Gautam Gambhir meanwhile took to Twitter, calling the bystanders animals who did nothing as the young girl was murdered. Since the Shraddha Walkar murder case, this cold-blooded killing has shaken the conscience of the nation once again. While the accused is in custody, the big question remains, did the bystanders betray Delhi's daughter? Are they also responsible for her death?
All right, before we open this up to our political panelists, I want to first go across to Special CP of Delhi Police, Dipendra Pathak, who's now joining us. Thank you very much, Mr. Pathak. All of Delhi has been numbed looking at these pictures, this absolutely blood-curdling murder. When did the Delhi police first get to know of this murder, the horrific nature of this crime, and what is it that you instilled the moment you saw these horrific pictures? What did you tell the team that was designated to go after this barbaric killer?
You see, it has happened yesterday around 9 in the evening, and the area is Shahbaz Deri, which is the outer north Delhi area. So the information comes to the police. Immediately, police team reaches to the spot, identifies the victim, and also goes through the CCTV coverage of the area and immediately identifies the accused, the place, their relations, their acquaintances and all, and immediately few teams were constituted by the local police and it was dispatched to NAB. In the shortest possible time, that is few hours back, we could nab the accused Sahil from Bulandshahr in Uttar Pradesh, and we are bringing the accused back. So the investigation started immediately after the information we got to know, and we have nabbed the accused in the record shortest possible time.
No, like you said, you managed to track the accused down within 24 hours. You picked him up from Bulandshahr in Uttar Pradesh. Tell us a little bit more about how you managed to track him down. How did you use his mobile phone coordinates? How did you track him down with his GPS location? Tell us a bit more about this manhunt, because from outer Delhi, he managed to flee all the way to Bulandshahr.
You see, it is a very initial stage of investigation.
Okay.
But what I can reveal is that the victim is 16, 17 years old girl.
Yeah.
The assailant is around 19 to 20 years of age, and he works as a fridge and the AC mechanic. They knew each other. As per information as of now, they parted ways maybe few days back or maybe some time back, and they had some tiff. So this gruesome murder and the attack is a kind of revenge. It's a crime of passion at first instance, if I say that, as of now, what we have zeroed down. So with this information and with the information of the victim, we got to know that who is the accused and where he lives. Okay. And after that, we talked to the near ones of the accused and finally zeroed down that where he will be. And accordingly, the teams were dispatched. So in one of the team that who was sent to the UP, that is in the Bulandshahr area of Uttar Pradesh, we could locate and we could catch him, we could nab him.
But tell me, Mr. Pathak, one of the shocking things about these pictures that we saw is also that there were at least 10 bystanders who were just passing by, who did nothing. This horrific crime was happening in front of their eyes. I mean, what is it? Is it apathy? Is it indifference? I mean, how can a civilized society not respond to a crime that's happening right in front of their eyes?
You see, police has a focused professional role. But yes, what you are mentioning, it is certainly height of insensitivity and indifference. If the crime is happening, if the people who are there, who are passing through, they could have reacted in various ways, at least screamed. So that could have dissuaded the assailant up to an extent. So that is it, but that is not our domain. Our role is very focused. That is a professional role of investigation and catching the criminal, and also putting before the honorable court with all the best possible evidences for strictest possible
Dipendra Pathak, we'll leave it at that. We'll see how this story plays out. He's, of course, been nabbed. He'll now have to be brought into court. And, of course, we're hoping that the trial happens as quickly as is possible. Let me now open this up to our panelists. Vineet Goenka, spokesperson of the Delhi BJP, joining us. Mahima Singh is spokesperson of the Congress. Jasmine Shah is spokesperson of the Aam Aadmi Party. And T.R. Kakkar, former police commissioner of the Delhi Police. Vineet Goenka, you heard from the Aam Aadmi Party spokespersons and ministers and so on all through the course of the day. They are saying that law and order squarely is the responsibility of the Delhi Police. It comes under the central government. And we are seeing again and again violent crime, not just ordinary crime, but very violent and gruesome crime, the kind of which we saw today happen again and again in Delhi. And it's an utter failure of the police and the law and order machinery.
Chaka Ram Ram to you and to all the viewers who are watching me this
it's a very painful day when I have to come on TV. Actually, the head is in shame, and I'm just thinking, had this been somebody from my family, what would have gone on myself and my family? So I pray for the soul and also condolences to this. This is not a time when politics should be done, but unfortunately, the weak CM of Delhi has tweeted, and he tweeted and tried to blame this on the ALG. And so I'm forced to remind him about the tweet which he did on 27th June 2013, calling Sheila Dikshit ji a helpless CM when the similar kind of incidents happened. This is an unfortunate time when I have to come on the television and tell this. The incidences are rising, one particular community against one particular community. This is not a time, but forcefully, my Delhi president had to come out with a statement calling this to be a love jihad case, and I'll give you reasons for that. But before that, I have a request through your channel, not as a politician, not as a spokesperson, but as a citizen to Arvind Kejriwal ji. Please don't promote rapists. I'll tell you the incidences. A, by giving shaving machine to the Nirbhaya rapist, what he actually did is to promote rapists. By asking a rapist to do massage to the minister Satyendra Jain in the jail, what he did is actually promote the rapist. He never reprehended the MLA Baraki Birla's rapist accused of the rape. He should have actually not given her ticket. He never spoke about anything when Dalit women was gang raped in Delhi government hospital. He never visited that. Now that all shows his indifference. And then in the morning when he tweets that this is with LG, this is not my case, I am forced to remind him, sir, you are the CM.
Okay.
For anything and everything you try to take the claim. Why don't you come up here? And we as a Bharatiya Janata Party and also as a citizen, we will stand with you. You had promised us some commandos on the street. You never did that particular part. The street lights. When you promote the rapists, I repeat it, when you promote the rapists by giving them shaving machine, asking your ministers to take massage from them, what message are you giving to the people? And in this particular case, Jata,
so one second, let me ask Jasmine Shah of the Aam Aadmi Party. No, one second, Mr. Goenka, one second. Jasmine Shah of the Aam Aadmi Party, the contention by the Delhi BJP is you can go on and on about LG and Delhi police and so on. Fact of the matter is that the Aam Aadmi Party government in Delhi has not done anything to make the women of Delhi feel safe, and this is yet another instance of a violent crime against a woman.
First, let me say how horrified I am by this gruesome crime that has happened in front of a CCTV camera. But I must also say that I'm even more disgusted by the kind of language that the BJP spokesperson is using on this particular show. And I'll tell you why. There are two reasons why Delhi comes to the mind of any average Indian today. First is world-class government schools and clinics and hospitals. Nobody disputes that Delhi today gives a model for what government schooling and healthcare system should be like. And they know why that is the case, because it is weak.
No, Mr. Goenka, one second, one at a time. Not on this show. That's not how we debate on my show. One at a time. I'll come back to you after Jasmine. Yeah.
Everybody knows that this is the Aam Aadmi Party model of governance which has delivered this. At the same time, Delhi is also known as the rape capital and the most unsafe city for women in India. And people also know that it is the BJP government and the LG who is in charge of this. Now, the second point I want to remind Zaka, to the BJP spokesperson here, is that, we have seen a very troubling pattern over the last 1 year that, an unelected and unaccountable person has been made in charge of Delhi police, but he refuses to do even one single thing for the safety of women. Just before this show, Zaka, I scrolled for 3 months the timeline of LG's Twitter handle. He is inaugurating tulip gardens. He is inaugurating cherry blossom gardens. He is doing Sair in Yamuna. Not one meeting has he held on crime and safety of women in this city. And I challenge the BJP spokesperson to show that. Tell me if one police station has been visited by the Lieutenant Governor. You have sought to centralize even the remaining powers from the Delhi CM. Even on education and health, you want to call the shots. But you have not proven that you have the capability to even do one thing which the Constitution has given you. And you should therefore apologize to the people of India today rather than coming and spreading this falsehood. And you are asking what has the CM of Delhi done? I'll give you one example. Just one example, Zaka, and I'll stop.
Quickly, yeah.
Delhi today has the highest number of CCTVs for any city in the world. The CCTV that captured this gruesome crime was installed by Arvind Kejriwal. It was not his mandate. Security is coming under Government of India and LG. But we've installed 4 lakh CCTV cameras for the safety of women. We've installed 2.5 lakh street lights in the last 8 years. So all of these things are being done.
Mahima saying what Delhiites are saying is, 10 years ago we had Nirbhaya and we were promised, there were stricter laws that were brought in force. But in terms of policing, in terms of safety on the streets, in terms of the last mile PCR and beat constable stuff, nothing much has changed over the last 10 years. We had the Kanjawala case just happened a few months ago. We had what happened in the whole Aftab and Shraddha Walkar case that again happened a few months ago. And now we have this case again from outer Delhi. It's like, there is no fear of law in the national capital, whether it was 10 years ago or whether it is now.
परिंदे सहमे हुए हैं दरख्त खौफ ज़दा ये किस इरादे से घर से निकल रही है हवा परवीन शाकिर has aptly said. And today the question mark is both on the BJP and the Aam Aadmi Party, both busy gaslighting on a day when every Indian should hang their heads in shame, because 10 years ago it was the Aam Aadmi Party chief that called Ms. Sheila Dikshit bebas, lachar, kamzor. Today, what is he to be called on a day when Delhi has seen one of the most heinous crimes of late? I have to ask the Delhi CM, because he said, "Hum to Delhi police ko sudhar denge." He talked of reprimanding the Delhi police, and that was one of the pretexts he assumed power on. He said, "We'll build a commando force of 7,000. Where is that commando force of 7,000, 25 each ward over 280 wards? How is it to be, who is to be blamed?" And on the other hand, you rightly said, Zaka, that it is the environment today that makes even a first-time offender feel a little cushioned and immune, in this country, because the BJP has garlanded and felicitated criminals. You remember what happened on the, on the evening of 15th August last year. Bilkis Bano convicts were not only, brought out of the prison, and they were also felicitated. They were also garlanded. ये तो तिलक करते हैं, अभिषेक करते हैं अपराधियों का. So of course it is the BJP and the Aam Aadmi Party hand in glove today, betraying the daughters of this country, having lied. If this was what they were to give the country as an alternative to what Congress was giving, they should hang their heads in shame. They should be ashamed of themselves. They are answerable to each daughter of this country. I, as a daughter of this country and representative of women,
T.R. Kakkad, fact is that there are now women-only police stations. There are fast-track courts for, crimes against women. There are dedicated helplines, call centers. If a crime against a woman happens, you have dedicated call centers and helplines for it. And on top of all of this, you have very, very stringent laws that were brought in after Nirbhaya. And yet, none of this, Mr. Kakkar, is putting the fear of law inside the minds of potential offenders. I mean, you look at the CCTV footage of this crime. I mean, this guy is so brutal. He's stabbing this dead young woman multiple times. 36 times is what he has stabbed this woman. 36 times. I mean, what sort of... I mean, you cannot have any ounce or shred of humanity in you if you don't react to this happening right in front of you.
I will not comment on what the political leaders have said here. I'll confine myself to this incident and whether the law and order in Delhi is up to the mark or not. This is a really gruesome murder that has taken place, which I saw on the CCTV camera. And I also find at least 10-12 people crisscrossing that area doing nothing at all. Now, if somebody tells me that the police should have been present there before the incident took place or when the incident was taking place, those 5 minutes, I will not buy that argument at all, because the boy and the girl knew each other, they had some relationship, it went sour, and unfortunately this time again it is they belong to two religious denominations.
Okay.
And every time we have seen, if this has to be accepted, that this sort of relationship takes place, ultimately the aim is to marry and convert. Now something happens in between when the boy gets very angry and he commits this particular murder. As soon as the police comes to know, police moves in action. Police has in the record time arrested the accused. Now question is, why did people not intervene in one form or the other, and maybe if had intervened, in the girl could have been saved, or maybe the girl could have been saved. That is because our laws are such that anybody who witnesses or takes recourse to saving somebody, he has to go to the courts again and again. He will be called by the police, various. So these are the flaws that we have.
Okay.
But I just want to tell the Delhiites and to the whole country, Section 97 of the Indian Penal Code has an exception. When I find, as a non-policeman, I find that somebody is being attacked and the body is going to be harmed, I have every right as an individual to not only protect him but also take recourse to doing something to the accused.
Okay.
Now,
no,
and
so
this is an exception.
one second. I think both Mr. Goenka and Mr. Kakkar, both have made one point which I think Jasmine Shah needs to respond to, and that is it time you acknowledge that there is a problem where people from different faiths, and in this case, I don't want to name, but it's obvious what has happened in this case.
Let's accept,
one second. Sir, let me ask the question now. That is what Mr. Kakkar's contention is. That's what Vineet Goenka's contention is also. Jasmine Shah, is there an attempt of living in denial, if you will, that there is such a problem in society and this needs to be addressed?
Zaka, any such problem needs to be quantified first to be called a problem. And what stops the different investigative agencies and the administrative bodies under the central government to quantify? I remember the last time an RTI was filed, and the National Commission of Women was asked that please tell us how many cases of love jihad have you found. They say we don't maintain this data. Such data does not exist. So it's the BJP to answer. You know that you cannot find an excuse every time by coming with a fancy name. At the end of the day, people have elected you to govern, to solve their problem. And if you look at the data of crime against women in Delhi, Zaka, every year it's a 15 to 20% increase for the last 3 years. At the same time, the conviction rates has dipped steadily. Just for the year 2022, the conviction rate was only 2%. I mean, any self-respecting police commissioner should resign when, or a government should resign when they cannot provide safety and security in the national capital. But BJP finds always some excuse to ride under and deflect accountability. People know that it is the Home Minister and the LG is accountable. When will you accountability?
Allow me a brief indulgence.
One second. I'm coming to you. 1 second. Vineet Goenka, respond. That if you are coming up with this thing called love jihad, then quantify it. Either the NCW should come up with, a quantifiable number of cases, or the NCRB should. I believe a few sessions ago in Parliament also there was a written response by the MOS Home then, saying that there are no cases of love jihad. But today on the show, you're again saying that look at the religion of the accused and the religion of the victim.
Zaka, it is very unfortunate where Aam Aadmi Party, weak CM tweets and tries to blame it, and then the spokesperson has that audacity to come and speak about this particular part. As he has asked this particular question, let me talk about two parts. First part, Shraddha been murdered by Aftaf, whether this girl has been murdered by Shahid, whether the name is
was, do you have data?
Sagres.
Yeah, 1 second, Jasmine.
Zaka,
let him respond. Yeah.
You never allowed me to speak. Yeah. So now they can actually look this thing away. I feel ashamed when the Chief Minister does not visit a victim who is Dalit just because she was raped by a Muslim. He does not visit the IB officer just because the killer is from his own party, Tahir Hussain. He chooses not to react to a law and order situation by calling names because they are appeasing the particular community. Now, painful part is the Chief Minister tries to politicize this particular part. And it's truthful. We will have to open our eyes, whether it is Kerala or anywhere else. If we see this particular, see the modus operandi. The person is wearing something called as kaleva, which generally represent religion. He does that, tries to lure around with a 16-year minor girl who may not know this particular part. And when she denies to convert or denies to do some particular part, then he has been brutally killed. And where in the same time, Chief Minister overlooked this particular party. And I repeat the part. Arvind Kejriwal has to stop promoting rapists, whether it is, and the women, crime against women. Somnath Bharti, his own MLA, has been, accused of wife beating. Okay. Then be Satyendra Jain, who was taking massage by a rapist, and, Kejriwal protected.
Okay.
By giving these sewing machines to nearby rapists,
yeah, you made that point. You made that point. Maima Singh to respond, and then I'll come back to Jasmine. Yeah. Yeah, you made that point.
You promote rapists. What do you expect?
Okay, Maima Singh.
You see, Mr. Kakkar talked about the bystanders, Zaka, and yesterday the bystanders and the entire country saw how the BJP on a day when they were inaugurating the parliament, having, of course, left the whole opposition aside, turned the national capital region into the national crime region, encouraging crime when they dragged the pride of this country, the daughters, the wrestlers of this country on the streets. That's how the BJP encourages crime. When the BJP bulldozes, grazes evidence in Dehradun, when an Ankita is murdered by a son of their MLA there, that's how the BJP encourages crime in this country. I already told you how they felicitate and how they garland the criminals. And, as much as they talk about Beti Bachao, Beti Patao, the silence of the Prime Minister on Unnao, Kathua, Hathras, and all the other rape cases, all the crimes against women is deafening in this country.
No, but Maima, it's not like, once again, it's not like crimes against women are not happening in Jharkhand or in Karnataka or in other states where the opposition is ruling, or in Bengal. There are crimes against women are not exclusively happening only in one set of states, right?
But is it not the Prime Minister's concern? Is it not the Women and Child Development Minister's concern? She was busy posting her pictures from the parliament yesterday when this gruesome murder happened. When the daughters of this country were dragged on the streets of
we
Delhi.
Only came to know of this case. We only came to know of this case today at noon when the CCTV pictures came. But anyway, Vineet Goenka responded, and after that, Jasmine also wanted to make a point. Yeah.
In this particular case, I would like to focus in this particular case. My request once again to the Chief Minister, and I repeat this for the third time, will be don't follow law. Don't do this kind of petty politics by tweeting and blaming the LG. I remind him about his own tweet once again on your debate, where he actually called the Chief Minister Sheila Dikshit as to be a weak CM who could not protect the state. And
will the Prime Minister speak?
No, once again, Maima, Maima, please, one at a time, please.
Why can't... Madam, I never spoken in between, and this is not a time when I can speak party like. So my request to him is that he should visit the Dalit victim who was raped by Muslim boys. He should visit this particular victim where she was raped by a Muslim guy, or be it case of Shraddha. He never spoke about this particular part, or be it killing of the IB officer Ankit just because he was killed by a Muslim. Okay. This is a clear case. We as a society have to rise. If we don't do that right now, Zaka, whatever is your fate or my faith, whatever religion you belong to,
okay, Jasmine, I'll give the final word. The point is that when Mr. Kejriwal was in the opposition, when Sheila Dikshit was here at the ruling Delhi, the Chief Minister was tweeting away, was giving sound bites every single day saying that, she's an incapable Chief Minister, she doesn't know how to protect the women.